Hello and welcome to our next video. In this lesson, we're going to take the time to review packages and jars. Now you may also be new to this, and that's okay if you are. We're going to go through a little simple exercise here to show how we could package up our utilities and then make it reusable across multiple projects as a jar file. For this one, we're going to need packages and jars part 1 and packages and jars part 2. And when we load them up into our Eclipse IDE, what we'll note is that packages and jars part 2 is going to have an exclamation point on it because it's going to be missing a jar for the utilities class. But we're going to create that, and I'm going to show you how to get all that set up here as we go. So I would recommend for this video that you work along with me, especially if you're new to packages and jars. So when we look at packages and jars part 1, we note we have the utilities class, and I created a utilities driver.java. Now this is just simply so I can run the project and make sure that it's compiled and working. Now you may or may not need that, but I go ahead and include it in my project so you can do that as well. And you'll see that that compiles and makes sure that utilities in the package utilities is going to then have that null safe equals method available to us as a static method through the utilities class in the utilities package. That's all we need to do to make our utilities package ready to go, but we do need to package it into a jar file so that we can use it in our packages and jars part 2. As it stands right now, if we look at packages and jars.java, we'll see that utilities is underscored because it doesn't know where to find it. And if we look at our resources in our libraries, we don't see anything about the utilities jar at this point, but we will go ahead and add that in. First, however, let's create the utilities jar file. So I'm going to right-click on utilities here, and I'm going to click export. And what I'm going to do here is under Java, jar file. I'll select next. And then I need to determine what I want to export. For this one, I'm going to export my packages and jars source files. So I'm going to say that I want to export the generated class files and resources. I don't need to do the source files. I could do that if I would like them to be included, but if I'm trying to abstract that data, I would go ahead and uncheck that. And then what I want to do is go ahead and compress it and overwrite the existing one. So I'm just going to overwrite if it's already on my file system. Now where I'm going to place this is important because I'm going to need to reference it for multiple projects. So I've created a project directory under my Java projects folder called custom libraries. And I'm actually going to place the jar file right into this custom libraries folder so that I can use it on all my projects going forward. So I'll browse to custom libraries and then name my file as utilities.jar. And there we can see it places the path for the destination exactly where I want it. I'm going to go ahead and just select finish. And that's created my jar file. And if I look at my project directory here, what I can see is that my utilities.jar is available there. And so I'm going to go ahead and add that into packages and jars part 2. Now I'm going to do that by on my project, I'm going to right click and select build path. And you could select add libraries or add external archives, but I'm going to go to the full configure build path just so we can look at this real quick. And here we see different libraries that we want to have. And so here I had the original path that was giving me the problem. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this one since I'm no longer using that. And then I'm going to add external jar. And again, I'm just going to browse right to my custom libraries, utilities.jar, and add that in. And now my utilities.jar is imported as part of my project. That will take the exclamation point out of place, and now my utilities works as expected. And what we'll see is that we do have import utilities.star up here at the top. And now my utilities null safe equals is available from that jar file and reusable across projects. So I can add more utilities into my utilities jar and then leverage them in all of my projects, only writing my code once. So let's go ahead and just run this and make sure that our null safe equals is working with the new mapped path to the jar file. And we see that it is working as expected. And we are up and running with a packaged version of our utilities that we can use across all of our projects. That wraps up our review of creating separate jar files as well as packaging code into packages so that they have their own package space and being able to import and use them in any of our projects.